Well, I've got Andrew here. And hello, Andrew. Welcome. It's great to have you with us.
Great to have you with us on the Mike and Ross Roofing show.
And we also got Sand, who's going to be Andrew Patomata.
All right, thanks for joining us, guys. And we'll just put that over to Sam. Nice to meet you. Hi, Andrew. And Andrew's sitting there.
Hi.
All right, so Mike.
Yep.
I believe you got a question for Andrew.
So, Andrew, what was your story in the flood? What was the flood situation with you?
Well, on the Thursday night, I didn't see any interpreted announcements, so I had no idea that anything was coming at all. On the next morning, it was Friday morning, I was actually watching sunrise. I was watching the morning news, and I thought, that looks like Lismore. And so I went outside my front door, and I went out on the road, and I went for a bit of a walk, and I walked down the road, and I saw the floodwater. I thought, oh no, I've got to get back home. What am I going to do? There's a flood coming. The first thing I did was went into my backyard and got my fish out of my fish pond. I got them into a bucket. I started grabbing some other things and moving them up higher. I was really quite worried and stressed about this flood that was coming, knowing I didn't have much time, moving everything that I could, still looking out the door to see where the floodwater was up to, moving things as much as I could. The floodwater was starting to come in. It was starting to touch my leg. It was above my foot, approaching my knee as I was moving more and more things. I thought, it's really getting too late now. This floodwater's here. I'm just going to have to shut my doors and get out of here. And I'd packed a few little things which I carried on my shoulder. I was wading through water up to my waist by then as I carried these things, and I arrived to the Ballina Street Bridge there. When I got to the bridge, what I actually did was I called my deaf friend. I made a video call to her and asked if her hearing daughter could make a call to the SES for me. I'm not someone who can hear and make a voice call. So I arranged for that to happen with messenger video calling. I was signing using my phone to my deaf friend, asked her to place that call to the SES, and said where I was on the Ballina Street Bridge, stranded. I waited and waited. I ended up being there for 7 hours. It began to get dark. I was cold. I hadn't eaten anything. I was worried about my house. I was trying to flag down people to come and rescue me. And I didn't see any SES at all. What I did was I approached a person who I saw, just a civilian who was in a boat, and I started to plead with them. I sort of gestured to them and indicated that I was a deaf person. I said, can I get on your boat? And they took me on their boat and got me through the floodwater, after which time I walked quite a distance, carrying my little pack that I had packed, and I made it up there to my friend's house. It was 8 o'clock at night by then. I was so happy to have arrived at my friend's place who accepted me and put me up for the night and fed me. So, unfortunately, the one criticism I have of the SES is that it wasn't really accessible for me as a deaf person.
So, another question, Andrew. Did anybody rescue you in the floods?
Yeah, already answered. A boat came and got him.
Yeah. What could the SES do to improve the floods? To improve things for deaf people?
Well, as I said, I didn't receive any phone call or SMS from the SES. That's okay, but unfortunately on the emergency broadcasts on TV, what needs to be there is a sign language interpreter for me. I'm someone who uses Australian Sign Language, or Auslan. That's my first language, and I don't really read English. And so without having access to those emergency updates with no interpreter, I was left there stranded on a bridge, as I said, having to video call my friend to ask her hearing daughter to place a call for me to the SES.
All right, then. Hey, Andrew, I got another question. How scary it was for you to be under that bridge?
Yeah, I was worried. I was scared. I could actually see my house in the distance and watching the water inundate my house there. So there was a range of feelings, not knowing what to do, walking around this bridge that I was stranded on like a little island, not really knowing how I was going to get to my friend's place, not knowing who was going to pick me up, whether the SES were coming for me or not, seeing boats and other things go by without really being able to call out to them. So yeah, unfortunately, I do have that criticism of the SES because I wasn't able to access that service to be rescued.
How high was the bridge where you were on?
The question was, how high was when you're on the Ballina Street Bridge? How high was the water to where you were standing?
Can you tell us why?
Well, I was standing. If you know the bridge there, the Ballina Street Bridge, it was actually dry on the bridge where I was, but it was flooded on both sides of the bridge. So I was dry. I was able to walk around a little bit. I was actually pacing for 7 hours on the bridge there because nobody picked me up. But yeah, it was flooded on either side of the bridge and I was stranded there.
Oh, really? Oh, really? And I believe that Chris got the question to ask you, mate.
And I'm wondering, how the goldfish?
Oh, my fish? Yeah. Well, yeah, they were in my back garden. That was my first thought, actually. I grabbed them, I had them in a bucket, and I put them up on a bench. And, yeah, they survived. They fared better than most of us. And after the floodwater receded, I actually cleaned up the pond, and they're back in there, and they're quite happy.
So it's all clean now.
Oh, well, that's nice, isn't it? Oh, well, that's very nice, isn't it? Hey, listen, Andrew, you know, because I believe that with the flood waters, you were not scary, weren't you, mate? Weren't you?
Sorry, saying with the flood waters and swimming through, we wasn't scared or scary.
Yeah, wading through the water, yeah, that was scary. It was up almost to my waist, I'd say. It was all around me. It was actually the first time I've experienced anything like that or seen a flood in Lismore. And I was trying to carry a few items on my shoulder to keep them dry. And, yeah, I was all wet. I was feeling really cold. There was a little bit of sun. There was some sun that was sort of warming me up until later on. As I said, it got dark. But just looking around at the dirty water and the debris that was floating through it, I could see fridges and appliances and rubbish floating down around me. It was quite terrible.
And what time was this?
So I guess that started about 11 o'clock. That was when I was wading through the water, getting to the bridge. And then I was there until it got dark. It was probably 7:30 when I was rescued.
Friday morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 11 a.m. Friday morning onwards.
Way scary. And he's on North Lismore. North Lismore.
Yes.
Yeah.
How scary was that, Andrew? Were you so scared?
He's already asked that question, so that's all right. He was very scared, as we all were, because it was like a tidal wave. And
what was the most funny thing that you ever saw in the river?
Oh, I guess seeing a fridge floating along was really quite strange. I saw rubbish bins floating along as well. There was lots of wood debris and timber. I saw lots of papers and things like that, general rubbish. It looked awfully dirty, really. I saw cans and things floating around. It was pretty gross. Yeah, lots of curious things, actually. It was filthy. It was pretty disgusting.
A fridge? A fridge, did you say?
Yeah. Yep, saw fridges.
Oh, I see. And it's over to you, Mike, with another question.
How bad was the debris in the water?
Yeah. Plenty of rubbish. It was everywhere. Everywhere I looked was the type of rubbish that I described. You know, cans and bowls and anything, you name it. Yeah, it was quite amusing to see some of the things.
Yeah.
I could see ants crawling on some of the things, like floating along on debris, trying to survive. So bits of wood and ants standing on there. That was pretty funny to see them running around, waving to me as they went by.
It's amazing those things. It's just like, Andrew, because I think everybody's ended up with different garbage bins. Because people in my garbage bins, there was Kentucky
Oh, yeah,
Fried,
we've all swapped.
all horrible takeaway containers, so I knew it wasn't mine.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Similarly with me, I remember looking after the water went down and I got home and everything was a terrible mess. I was searching around for all sorts of things, finding items of mine at the neighbours' houses, looking around, finding my yellow bin finally. It was quite a distance away, working out what was missing. So it was actually 2 days later until I found some things. And yeah, and it took a while to get everyone's rubbish bins back in their right homes.
Well, I still haven't got mine yet.
Hey, I think I got another question. What did you find in the flood?
Yeah, well, sometimes you'd see something there and you thought, oh, whose is this? I don't know. And I know maybe other people were taking things that weren't theirs that they found in the flood. But really, we saw all sorts of things floating down the street.
Yes, I'm sure there's a lot of tales about that. But Andrew, thanks very much for telling us your story.
And I do we might play a Johnny Cash song.
If we had Johnny Cash lined up, mate, we might. But we'll go pretty close. We'll play a bit of Taj Mahal. Thanks, Andrew.
No, thank you. See you later. Cheers.